In a 10, aw man. So way back in the mine, creepers are one of Minecraft's most iconic monsters, being basically the mascot for the game despite originally being a mistake, kinda like me, but they're also one of the most terrifying things in the overworld, and I say that purely because they can't spawn in any other dimension. Plus, with Revenge recently being restored to YouTube, I figured that this number would get the most clicks. But I mean, come on, a 1.7 meter tall green dingling that will walk up to you and explode all over you without consent. It sounds like that Kermit meme on TikTok where the puppet is on like Omegle or whatever it is, and then he pulls up a cucumber. Yeah, that's the kind of energy that I feel creepers have. Plus, you know, it's an explosion that can actually kill you and destroy your builds. So yeah, creepers are definitely something that you should be worried about, and they're scary. In at 9, proximity traps. After the introduction of Skulk sensors and their functionality, you can't walk anywhere without being terrified. This was perfectly demonstrated in Double Life, where there were multiple TNT traps using Skulk sensors, one getting good times with Scar, but more specifically, I think that the one made by Grian using TNT minecarts was definitely worse, since TNT minecart traps explode instantly and normally would use pressure plates, so at least you could avoid it. But now, you could just be walking along and then boom, you're a goner. And the ability to silence them is also such a huge game changer when it comes to these traps. All you gotta do is drown the sucker in water and you won't even know what hit you. You can't even predict it when there isn't water, but adding the water to it will just make your life an actual living hell. I won't be able to trust servers again at any point, let alone playing hardcore with other people. God damn. Skulk sensors are actually the worst, but they're also the best. In at 8, the Nether. There's a reason there is a song called Screw the Nether. You gotta know you have to fight, okay? Learn to play. There's mobs, but it's not night. A wooden sword won't do it. They're gonna blast right through it, and if you have a potion, use it. So watch your back, okay? I won't warn you twice. Fight the ghasts. Oh, make them cry, because they'll shoot the ground around you and make a hole to fall through. And you know you're probably going to, and there you go, in the lava again. There's a reason this place is so often compared to hell, because it feels like hell, the things you just went through. And you probably lost all your new gear too, unless you had netherite at least. But anything that wasn't just gets burned up. Plus, I think blazes are the most annoying mobs in the game to fight straight up. It's just wrong, alright? Even if you have a fire resist potion, you still have to deal with the fire graphic in your face. I'd rather the fire res actually just prevent me from catching fire, which seems like true fire resistance instead of just heat resistance, but oh well, I guess I don't really have a choice here. Last time I talked about how I felt pretty confident in our ability to live among the Skulk, since ancient cities had shown us that they've done so before. At least until they, you know, messed around and summoned the Wither. See, the thing that summons the Warden are Skulk Shriekers. Those things are dotted around the various Skulk sections, but you can actually destroy them. And you can actually pick them up if you use Silk Touch, but other than that, they are just destroyed. The key to actually being able to live in the Skulk biome would be destroying all the Skulk Shriekers. And as long as we brought wool with us, we wouldn't really end up having that much of a problem with it, since placing a wall doesn't activate them, and we could easily block each one off before destroying it. Do that enough times, and we wouldn't have to worry about the Warden at all. I mean, like, it would take a little time to figure that out, because as I've said previously, we wouldn't go into it with knowledge of Minecraft, and it would most likely cost a fair few lives, but it would be a solution to dealing with monsters every night, because other monsters don't generate in the Skulk biomes, and everyone would also be able to sleep and prevent them from spawning upstairs as well. So yeah, if we evolved into a sort of cave-dwelling species, we could survive without the fear of monsters. Assuming that the Skulk wouldn't give us like any actual like disease or illness or something. And honestly, with some effort, we could eventually dig a giant skylight above the ancient city to bring light in, resulting in probably a better life all around, because you know, vitamin D. All while being able to avoid monsters entirely. I don't know if it would be better or worse than living on a mushroom island, but hey, they both have their pros and cons. I mean, having mushrooms would definitely be a pro, but that's just me, because apparently no one wanted the Moo Bloom. It's still salty. But with 1.20, we don't really have the entire thing revealed, so we can't really be too sure. However, that doesn't mean that we can't talk about the currently announced features. The camo would basically just be like what it is in real life, except this time they're also able to super jump across ravines, which could come in useful. But the really interesting thing that I wanted to actually talk about and why I did this video was actually the Sniffer, the mob that won the 2022 mob vote. The Sniffer is an ancient mob that might be like the ancestor to a chicken. It loves seeds and can find seeds in the ground, seemingly like how sheep eat grass. Sniffers can probably do the same sort of thing, or at least have the same animation to find seeds instead. So, thinking about how that could change Minecraft, if we were living in Minecraft, holy crap, okay? This would be an incredible way to get a lot of seeds, and even potentially some that we thought were extinct, at least depending on what Mojang decides to implement. And given the rate of crop growth in Minecraft, and that the plants grow to be around a meter above the ground, there would be a whole lot of food to go around. But actually, now that I think about it, would there be? You see, one of the most unrealistic but also hilarious things about Minecraft is how insanely strong the characters are. Now, I say this in every one of these kinds of videos, but to illustrate the point, I'll recap it quickly. Steve and Alex and all the other default skins, the Minecraftians basically, are essentially from Krypton when it comes to strength, okay? The heaviest block in Minecraft is a gold block, since in the real world, a 1 meter by 1 meter block of solid gold would weigh around 19,300 kilograms, which is 42,549 pounds. And then that's just one block. Multiply that by the 36 stacks that Steve can carry, and Steve can easily hold on to 98,033,395.5 pounds. Not including wearing any gold armor, which would only increase the weight they can carry. Packs that are definitely better than others. The stylized resource pack combined with BSL shaders is my personal preferred combination, or at least when doing something like this, but that's also currently being worked on, or at least the resource pack is, and it doesn't have all the blocks completed, so it's kind of all over the place. And since it's only really accessible on Patreon, I don't know if it ever will be completed, because then what will the Patreon be for? Which is why I don't really like that sort of pay structure for things like this, okay? A one-time payment for lifetime access and updates is a better solution in my mind. Like, make it more than like just a month, but like I'd rather pay 35 bucks for all the updates than like 7 a month, especially when there's not really any updates. Getting close to the end, in number 3, the Ender Dragon. I was originally going to say the end dimension in general, but honestly, the reason it's risky is because of the Ender Dragon. Partially because people will legit get mad at you for calling it a he, because everyone says that she's a girl, despite Jeb saying that Jean's gender is dependent on your seed. And yes, they also named the dragon Jean with a question mark. However, I will tell you from personal experience that it is possible to beat the Ender Dragon with nothing but your fist, as long as you take out the crystals so they can't regenerate. So yeah, it's definitely not as scary as I originally thought. It certainly took a while to do, but it is definitely possible, and something I actually did in my last hardcore world. It was very difficult, and I practiced multiple times before trying the actual one, and I did die every time I practiced, but I just figured that I'd go for it anyway. And no matter what, he died punching a dragon to death sounds a lot better than he got killed by a baby zombie and a spider while having the effects of a golden apple. Sorry, Philza, but you're literally famous, so honestly I don't really think you care about me apologizing or not. You're doing just fine either way. But ultimately, in at number 2, the Wither. The Wither was at one point the scariest Minecraft mob, but then we figured out how to cheese it underground, and then with iron golems. But before that, this 300 or 600 health, depending on your version, Titan was definitely something we were all terrified to face. But then, one man wondered if the Wither could be killed by punching, and you know what? Yes, it's possible. Minecraft YouTuber Wadzi made a video on this very subject and proved that with the proper technique and a lot of time and focus, it was possible to punch the Wither to death with absolutely no armor. He trapped it in a bedrock room, of course, which was what made it possible since it couldn't fly away and you can't really punch something that's in the sky. But with some effort, this could be possible in the vanilla game, if you're using like the nether ceiling and maybe an obsidian floor. It would be a lot of work, but it's certainly possible, as Wadzi proved in this video. So after seeing that, I'm definitely on the whole Wither isn't the scariest thing in the game now train. But what could it be? Haha, before I let you know, how about you do me a favor and hit that like button, alright? You've watched this far, so you clearly liked it, so might as well just show the love, right? And that's just one block. Multiply that by the 36 stacks that Steve can carry, and Steve can easily hold 33,395.05 pounds, not including wearing any gold armor, which would only increase the weight he's carrying. But even with a full inventory of gold blocks, Steve can run at full speed, jump 1 meter into the air, and do everything that he can normally do, which is absolutely insane. Jumping 1 meter is incredible already, and then to do that while carrying 98 million pounds? Oh my god. And that's not even like the max that he can carry. That's before factoring in shulker boxes, which can be found in the end. And while they would be expensive, we could in theory carry 36 shulker boxes full of golden blocks, resulting in the insane weight of 1,200,614,400 kilograms, or 2,648,901,666 pounds. That is absolutely astronomical. And you know what? That doesn't even mean much, because we can't really understand it, so let's put it into terms that we can relate to. Steve and Alex can both individually carry 108,537 school buses. That's 19,288 African bush elephants at their heaviest. That is, according to most moving companies, 16,543 houses at their heaviest, not including mansions or apartment buildings. That is insane. That is bonkers. That is absolutely f***ing bananas. That's also including Alex, whose character model has skinnier arms. There would be no need for gyms. And it wouldn't matter that my arms are the size of ramen noodle packets, because I would still be able to lift that, okay? The only question is, when are we able to lift that? Because, like, it depends. It's probably going to be after puberty and, you know, not straight out of the womb, because that seems even unrealistic for Minecraft. And when looking at this strength, it seems kind of dumb how falling 7 meters will kill my overpowered ass, but okay, whatever. So, with this newfound power, how long does it take for us to destroy the world? Probably very quickly, but that's not the question I want to ask. How strong would that actually make the mobs? Because, like, zombies appear to be just undead versions of Steve, right? They wear the same shirt, they wear the same pants, and the same shoes. So, a zombie would in theory be as strong as us, if not significantly weaker due to decay, because, you know, they're undead. But the same thing goes for drowned. They're just underwater zombies, as evidenced by their ability to literally be created by drowning zombies. And while Endermen can only carry 1 block at a time and from a specific set, they have double our health. Creepers would be like a walking bomb just like they are in game, and skeletons could one-shot any of us if we wandered too far away from the streetlights. But all of this doesn't even compare to the Nether, with monsters who shoot fireballs that either catch us on fire or just explode, mobs that would attack us unless we're wearing gold, and skeletons that, if they touch you, would slowly drain your life away. That is absolutely terrifying. Not to mention skeletons riding on giant spiders, baby zombies riding on chickens, and how horrifying those little buggers would look in real life. It's horrifying to think about, especially the spiders. I hope that at this point we all know how I feel about spiders. If you don't hit subscribe, you need to do that, okay? Because I hate them. These things must be strong as hell for our overpowered one-punch man fist to only do half a heart of damage every time. That would make me I wouldn't be able to sleep at night, okay? Like, there's always going to be monsters nearby in my life. Oh, and I'm not even gonna touch on the Wither or the Warden, because anyone who would summon the Wither deserves the pain that the Wither would cause them, okay? It would most likely wipe out our entire society. Oh, and the worst thing of all is the inability to take naps during the day. How am I supposed to function if I can't nap when I get home from work? God! And it's 7 Mutant Beasts. An OG mod that has gotten some serious updates is the Mutant Beasts mod. Originally known as mutant creatures, with so many more mobs being added to the game, there must be a load of new mutants, right? Well, no. No, actually. I think that's only on the Pocket Edition version of this mod, which is the one that's more popular for some reason. But either way, the Mutant Creatures mod adds naturally spawning yet rare but also creatable mutant versions of the zombie, skeleton, creeper, and enderman mobs. There's also a mutant spider pig that made me avoid playing with this mod for around 7 years, not even a joke. But each monster has their own abilities and their own drops, with enderman dropping a hand that allows you to move blocks and like pick them up and throw them as weapons. weapons, and the skeleton dropping their bones that you can collect and make into armor. Creepers drop an egg that lets you hatch your own creeper baby, and zombies drop a Hulk hammer. But mutant zombies are just Hulk with extra steps. But also Thor. I don't know. There's a mutant snow golem that can fight on your side, but they have to actually be made using Chemical X and can't spawn naturally. It's also not a guarantee that Chemical X will create a mutant, and you don't really have to worry about this unless you have the mod installed. But if you do, you gotta worry about it. I love the mod, alright? I had to talk about it. Plus, clickability. And at 6, hackers. This is something that you should really fear in any game when playing online, but cheaters and hackers are some of the most aggravating things in the world. If it's something like 2B2T, alright, then it's okay, because that's an anarchy server. The whole point is that there's no rules. But if it's someone on like a normal survival world and then they're getting around your claims, or they're just like spawning in all the stuff that you're working so hard for, it can definitely get worrying. Especially when the hacker inevitably gets bored because they don't have to work for anything, and then they absolutely start destroying everyone else without a care in the world. And then they don't care about being banned because they didn't have to work for anything that they have, so they aren't really losing anything. It's literally one of the most frustrating things in the world, but it also makes me worried as hell whenever I'm online, in literally any game, but still in Minecraft. Halfway through in at number 5, how did we get here? Getting all the achievements or advancements in the game is a really difficult task, with some of the advancements being absolutely ridiculous, like fly 50 blocks high because of a shulker's levitate effect, or looking at the ender dragon through a spyglass, and also stepping in every single possible overworld biome, which is like 44 biomes, because it also includes variants. But the most difficult advancement of all is still the how did we get here advancement, which requires you to have every status effect in the game. Okay, well, not everyone, but most of them, including bad ones. This one requires you to have absorption, bad omen, blindness, conduit, dolphin's grace, fire resistance, glowing, haste, hero of the village, hunger, invisibility, jump boost, levitation, mining fatigue, nausea, night vision, poison, regeneration, resistance, slow falling, slowness, speed, strength, water breathing, weakness, wither, and darkness, or the one that is given to you by the warden, alright? Not to mention the whole trading with a villager at build height advancement, or breeding every mob in the game. But honestly, if you're going to attempt how do we get here, good luck, because the shulker is probably the most annoying and difficult thing to literally ever move. And at 4, ultra realistic graphics. This I'm not worried about because it's going to cause me any grief, but my computer, that's another story. Minecraft ultra realistic graphics will actually kill your computer if you haven't got like a NASA grade PC. Some of these texture packs, shaders, and mods will absolutely annihilate any decent PC when they're used together, so if you're going to use them, I suggest you have an idea of what your computer can handle before giving it a shot. I personally don't prefer the ultra realistic resource packs. I don't really want a block game to look like real life, but there are some HD packs that are definitely better than others. The stylized resource pack combined with BSL shaders is my personal preferred combination, or at least when doing something like this, but that's also currently being worked on, or at least the resource pack is, and it doesn't have all the blocks completed, so it's kind of all over the place. And since it's only really accessible on Patreon, I don't know if it ever will be completed, because then what will the Patreon be for? Which is why I don't really like that sort of pay structure for things like this, okay? A one-time payment for lifetime access and updates is a better solution in my mind. Like, make it more than like just a month, but like I'd rather pay 35 bucks for all the updates than like 7 a month, especially when there's not really any updates. Now, if Minecraft was real, it's fairly safe to say that we would be in quite a bit of danger, considering how monsters spawn outside when it gets dark out, or even if it's too dark inside. Now, I'm going to treat this as if vanilla Minecraft were real, and if it was integrated into today's society. So we would still have our modern tech, except the rules of Minecraft would apply to that world. So while cities would be fairly safe at night thanks to all the lights, some residential neighborhoods and smaller towns would be overrun with monsters, including giant spiders and creepers, which wouldn't burn when the morning came. This would make the walk to school especially interesting. Not to mention that literally everywhere would have to keep the lights on 24/7 to prevent monsters from spawning inside their establishments, which would mean either a load of torches, lanterns, or a high hydro bill. So when you got to school as well, it would have to have kept the lights on all night, or you'd have to do some fighting before you got to math class, unless they had some form of security that would handle these monsters in the morning, which could be realistic, and I mean it would create more jobs. There is also the issue of totally different dimensions. Now, while we possibly wouldn't know about them, there is still the possibility of certain people opening portals and unleashing Armageddon, since the most likely scenario would be us stumbling into the Nether absolutely blind, and then the forces of the Nether taking over our world instead of the other way around. Sorry Fallen Kingdom fans, but Take Back the Night isn't as realistic as we hoped it would be. Now, the end is a different story. As we know, the strongholds are long abandoned structures that hold an unopened portal, but how would this happen in our world? Probably in a similar fashion, only the structures and the portals would be discovered by archaeologists, and Indiana Jones movies would be about the Eyes of Ender rather than crystal skulls. And if they knew how to open the portal would be determined based on what we knew about this ancient civilization, and if we even understood how to make Ender Eyes. If we did somehow manage to get that portal open, whether it's through research or sheer dumb luck, would we go through it? I mean, I don't know. And would we actually be able to survive the trip? Based on Earth's history, I think a whole other dimension to colonize would probably be a driving force behind why most would go through the portal. And well, we would end up stuck there until we killed a dragon, which is something else entirely. This isn't even like, I didn't even consider the warden in this case, because that would be a lot. Sure, finding an ancient city would take way too long in real life, so I'm just kind of omitting it, because I don't really think it would have much of an impact. Whether it would be possible to kill the Ender Dragon is impossible to know, since the stupidity but also the brilliance of humans is astounding, but assuming we knew how to, like every other Minecraft player basically knows how to defeat the Ender Dragon, we would probably be alright, but not without a few casualties, I'm sure, because, you know, it's a dragon in real life. However, advancing our civilization would actually be a breeze, since while yes, we don't have mods like Mechanism, we would still have caves full of ore to explore and mine, resulting in much more gold and diamonds than anyone ever thought possible. And redstone would make incredible advancements as well. Like, imagine Mumbo Jumbo, but being an IRL redstone technician, or Ilmango installing block swappers in your house or on the streets, so that when night came, they would light up. Or even equipping the entire world with netherite armor. Imagine the enchantments, how they would feel on our bodies, even though we would end up being superhumans. And yeah, you heard me right. If Minecraft was real, we would be superhumans. That's like not a joke. We would actually be like Mr. Incredible, basically, everyone. Since a 1 meter by 1 meter block of gold, which is the block of gold size in Minecraft, would weigh 19,300 kilograms, which is 42,549 pounds for the 3 countries in the world who use the metric system. Yeah, I know, you're one of 3. It's also worth noting that we wouldn't have our knowledge of Minecraft in this version of Earth, since, well, Minecraft wouldn't be a game, it would be real life. And nobody plays real-life simulator games to actually do things that you would do in normal life. So Minecraft would definitely not be a game, meaning that it would take us ages to even consider thinking about mob or resource farms, and it would take a load of ingenuity to figure out how they actually work, or even come up with the concept for one. We also have to pick and choose the mechanics that would actually work properly and which ones we would have to eliminate for the sake of translating this into real life. For example, the mob spawning mechanics, where they cannot spawn within 25 meters of a player, would have to be considered. I mean, it would be beneficial to have this rule, however, would it really make sense? If we're running with monsters spawn in the darkness, we may be able to keep this rule, but it would require some adapting, like in our society adapting to that. For example, no corner of your house could be further than 25 meters from any other point in your house. Otherwise, you'd risk falling asleep and then waking up to a creeper in your living room. We could modify these rules though, possibly by saying that we could consecrate ground around a house to prevent monsters from spawning inside of it, but that's not a normal Minecraft mechanic, and therefore we should probably ignore that and shouldn't like actually postulate it. We could possibly though all move to various mushroom biomes if we had those. However, the spawning mechanics for those are confusing, especially when trying to place this on our Earth instead of an infinitely generating world. We would have to have, you know, enough area for literally everyone on Earth, or I guess not like an infinitely generating world, one that has a border 3 million blocks in any given direction. Another biome that doesn't allow mobs to spawn naturally, however, like how the mushroom biome doesn't, which is why I suggested, has recently been added. The deep dark biomes that contain skulk blocks and shriekers actually prevent mobs from generating naturally within them, probably to make the warden an actual threat, because, you know, if there's other mobs running around, he's just gonna go for those. But building down in the Skulk would be kind of ridiculous, right? I mean, why would we try to do that? Oh wait, in Minecraft, they already have. They've done that thanks to the ancient city structures that we can see typically generating under mountain biomes. Now, we still aren't entirely sure how this really happened. It's possible that these cities were here and then the Skulk invaded, or vice versa. However, one thing that remains consistent is that there were people who were living amongst the Skulk blocks. So, could we do the same? It would definitely be difficult. I mean, the Warden is the strongest mob in the game, being able to take on multiple withers in both versions. But if we tried to live in the Skulk, could we as humans? I mean, I think so. Because, like, the thing is that wardens are summoned by Skulk Shriekers. These are dotted around the various Skulk sections in the deep dark biomes, but you are able to destroy them. You can harvest them with Silk Touch, but if you don't use that, they just get destroyed. And the key to actually being able to live in a Skulk biome would be destroying all these Skulk Shriekers. And as long as we brought wool with us, it wouldn't really end up being that big of a problem, since placing wool doesn't activate any of the Skulk sensors or Shriekers, and we could easily block one of them off before destroying it so that it doesn't send any signals to other ones. We do that enough times and we wouldn't really have to worry about the warden at all. I mean, it would take a little time to figure that out, and most likely a fair few lives and warden summons, but it would be a solution to dealing with the monsters every night, since everyone would have to be asleep to end up preventing them from spawning, because that's just how sleeping works on servers. One person with insomnia and there's a creeper in your house, alright, just saying. There is one question that I also saw multiple times on the last part. It's the simple question of, if monsters would be such a big problem, why not just use guns to wipe them out? And while I do understand that, since I said that we would have our current technology, I was speaking more so about how the general population would be able to handle monsters, because let's be honest, okay, equipping every single person with a gun in order to worry about monsters isn't really going to end well. Ironically enough, we would become the monsters at that point, and yes, that was meant to be poetic. Most of the people asking this, I'm guessing, are from the United States, since while only containing 5% of the world's population, contains 46% of the world's civilian-owned guns, and I mean, I'm sure we all know how that's going for them. Whether you are for or against gun control, I think you can understand how arming everyone in the world with a gun so that they can take out monsters wouldn't be a good idea. Okay, one thing moves in the shadows and you're freaking out, thinking that it might be a creeper, but instead it was just your creepy neighbor. And while giving people swords wouldn't really be much better, at the very least, they're easier to defend against than a 102-mile-per-hour chunk of metal flying at your face. Okay, and swords require much more training than something that in this case would mostly just be point and shoot, especially for a monster, especially for a giant frickin' spider. And considering how guns aren't in Minecraft, we can't even really begin to understand how these mobs would handle gunfire. It may not affect them at all. I mean, I doubt it, but it is possible. Okay? They may be made in like a similar way to Kevlar or other bullet resistant or bulletproof materials, because we can't exactly be sure. So perhaps a sharp sword to the abdomen or a sharpened arrow to the chest would be the only way to actually handle these creatures. And while yes, we are extremely strong, it's worth remembering that a fall of 7 meters would kill us instantly, and so would a creeper explosion. Yeah, that's right, we would still have to deal with creeper explosions in this world. Imagine how fun that world would end up being. Yeah, imagine airports. They would have to somehow spawn-proof entirely, or have like cats just chilling literally everywhere. But I don't know, maybe I can like discuss how the world could handle monsters if you guys end up wanting a third part to this. This was mostly clearing up and addressing some of the newer additions to the game, but I do love this kind of thought process of translating Minecraft into real life, so I'm happy to do it again if you want. That's all the time we have for today though, friends. Thank you all so much for watching. I have been Inshallah Connor Monroe, and I'll see you in another video. So last last part, I talked about how strong we would all be thanks to Minecraft's inventory system. I talked about how the heaviest block in the game is Minecraft's gold block, since a 1 meter by 1 meter block of gold would weigh 19,300 kilograms, which is 42,549 pounds, and that was just one block. Multiply that by 36 stacks of 64 that Steve can carry, and Steve could easily hold 98,033,395.5 pounds, not including wearing any gold armor, which would only increase the weight. But then, even with the full inventory of gold blocks, Steve can still run at full speed, jump 1 meter into the air, and do everything that he could normally do, which is insane. And that's not even the max that he can carry, okay? That's before factoring in shulker boxes, which would result in us being able to carry 1,200,614,400 kilograms, or 2,648,901,666 pounds, or the equivalent of 16,543 fully furnished houses. And then multiple people in the comments brought up the idea that golden apples would in theory multiply that amount by 8, which I wanted to address. The idea that enchanted golden apples would equal 8 blocks of gold relies on the idea that they actually used to be craftable. Prior to Minecraft version 1.9, you could craft an enchanted golden apple by surrounding an apple with 8 gold blocks. This would also give you the at the time overpowered achievement. However, now they aren't craftable, which means that we can't really use them as a metric for how strong we would be, especially given that they're enchanted and magical apples. So the weight would seemingly be nullified by the fact that it's magical and enchanted and an apple. However, there is one thing that we can actually compare to our strength as of Minecraft 1.16, and that's the netherite blocks. Since each netherite ingot requires 4 gold ingots as well as 4 netherite scraps, we can essentially multiply this metric by 4. We have no way of knowing how heavy or dense netherite scrap would be, nor do we have any reasonable equivalent in our world, but by just multiplying this by 4, we would be able to carry, using a full inventory of shulker boxes filled with netherite blocks, a whopping 4,802,455,600 kilograms, or 10,585,606,664 pounds, which is equal to 66,172 fully furnished houses, or the weight of my ego, which is honestly something that I can't even fathom at this point. If every person in the world worked together, we would in theory be just 48 people shy of lifting the earth. Or at least I think that's how the math works out. It was either that or just 48 kilograms shy of lifting the earth, which would mean just one person away. Assuming that we had somewhere to stand as we were trying to lift the earth, and you know, all the assumptions that we would normally have to make moving the earth possible, we'd have to do that, but also, yeah, either 48 people or 48 kilograms shy of lifting the earth, which is nuts. But even with a full inventory of gold blocks, Steve can also run at full speed, jump a meter into the air, and do everything else that he could normally do, which is freaking insane. And that's not even the max that he can carry, because that's before factoring in shulker boxes, which would also result in being able to carry 1,200,614,400 kilograms, or 2,646,901,666 pounds, or the equivalent of 16,543 fully furnished houses. No, I'm not joking. Multiple people in the comments though every time like to bring up the idea that golden apples would in theory multiply that amount by 8, which I would like to address so that it doesn't happen in these comments. The idea that enchanted golden apples would equal 8 blocks of gold relies on the idea that they used to be craftable. Prior to Minecraft version 1.9, you could actually craft enchanted golden apples by surrounding an apple with 8 gold blocks. This would also give you the overpowered achievement. However, now notch apples or god apples or whatever you want to call them aren't craftable, which means that we can't use them as a metric for how strong we would be, especially given that, you know, they're enchanted and magical. So the weight of 8 gold blocks would seemingly be nullified by the fact that they're literally magic and the size of an apple. However, there is one thing that we can actually compare to our strength as of 1.16, and that's netherite blocks. Since each netherite ingot requires 4 gold ingots as well as 4 netherite scraps, we can essentially multiply this metric by 4. We have no way of knowing how heavy or dense netherite scrap would be, nor do we really have a reasonable equivalent in our world, but just by multiplying it by the 4 gold, we would be able to carry, using a full inventory of shulker boxes full of netherite blocks, sandbox a whopping 4,802,457,600 kilograms, or 10,587,606,664 pounds, which is equal to 66,172 fully furnished houses, or the weight of my ego, which is honestly something that I can't even fathom, okay? If every person in the world worked together and had this level of strength, we would in theory just be 48 people shy of lifting the earth. Or at least I think that's how the math works out. It was either that or just 48 kilograms shy of lifting the earth, assuming that we also had somewhere to stand as we were lifting it. And you know, all the other assumptions that we would have to make in order for lifting the earth to be possible. But someone who can lift a full 10.5 billion pounds is probably gonna need a lot of food, okay? The average man needs around 2,500 calories a day and can deadlift 155 pounds without training. So, dividing the calories by that weight, we get a really rough conversion of 16.13 calories needed per pound of lifting. Therefore, if we take the 10,587,606,664 pounds that a Minecraftian is able to lift and multiply it by the 16.13 calories it takes to lift 1 pound, we get the amount of calories Steve would roughly need to consume a day, which is absolutely shocking and something that explains why we have to eat so damn much in this game, and why steak is the best food source. Because while Steve may need steak to survive, my sustenance would be you hitting the subscribe button. And since you're still here, you're bound to like our other videos, which have me descend into even further madness. So do that while I give you this insane answer. And it is insane, because Steve would need to eat an amount roughly equal to 170,778,095,490 calories per day. That is over 303.3 million Big Macs. That's over 251.5 million steaks, okay? With the average weight of a cow in the US, that's still over 203,000 cows. Not just steak, but the entire cow, since the average US cow weighs around 1,200 pounds and yields 744 pounds of beef. At around 1,130 calories per pound, 203,000 cows. Yeah, and that's just for one day. We thought that what Grian did in Hermitcraft 6 was depressing. He needed to kill that and then like 100 times more to even come close to having enough beef to feed himself for the 20-minute day cycle, which, since the Minecraft day is 20 minutes, would mean that every single player on that server would need to kill around 74,143,545 cows every Minecraft year, which would be 5 real-life days. And that's assuming those 2 raw beef that drop are the entire weight of the cow and all of its usable meats, which they must be, given that it fills me up so damn fast, okay? And that's for every single player, for every work week of Minecraft, not including weekends. So, maybe after all, the sniffer wouldn't actually be all that useful, unless Mojang adds some kind of plant that is basically super beef or something that can fuel you for a year, okay? Damn, that's unfortunate. Hopefully they make it into like a proto chicken though, since the sniffer comes from eggs and it also likes seeds, and Jeb also called it a chicken, since, you know, that would also definitely prove that the egg came first.